Okay. Hi, everybody. Most of you know me. I'm Aurora Maran, the president of the YAPTI, and it's a pleasure to welcome our members, plus future colleagues from the University of Ghana. You probably know we at YAPTI describe students not as students, but as future colleagues, and we think it's extremely important that those future colleagues are in contact with associations like ours and like others that really work for us translators, professional translators and interpreters. So thank you very much for accepting this invitation. We offered 10 seats and everybody was very excited about that. We also have the head of the Ghana chapter, who is a professor at the university. The floor is yours. Erik, sorry for my voice, a bit of a flu. Fingers crossed. And it's a pleasure really to have you here and to being constantly surprised at the fact that I, at 62 years, with 40 years as a professional translator, still can learn. I really took down important tips that you shared with us in the last webinar. So welcome, yes. It's an honor, okay. And the floor is all yours. We are all going to be muted by default, so sorry. And
that's right.
Yeah, encourage you to turn on your cameras, unless we are going to see something scary, I don't know. Other than that, I really encourage that. And once he finishes, we're going to have a Q&A session. Again, I encourage you to raise your hands, don't be shy, get ready for the future of your profession. And YAPTI members also, just feel free to raise your hands and make the questions for the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Aurora. Also, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present my little webinar. This is the third webinar in this series of 4 webinars. Today's topic will be about thriving instead of surviving, but let me first present myself. My name is Erik Hansson, in case you have not seen my name or heard about me yet. I am a native Swede and I live in Germany, and I have done so since 1991. I have more than 25 years of experience as a translator. Mainly I translate from German into Swedish, into my mother language. I am specialized in technical translations. Very often I work with engineering, medtech or automation. I am a member of the association SFÖ, which is the Swedish Association of Professional Translators. And also I am a co-founder and an honorary member of the German Translation Association, DVUD. I am a networker and I'm quite active on social media, mostly on Twitter and also on Facebook. Back in 2013, I founded the Facebook group Things Translators Never Say, or TTNS in short, where I'm now one of the admins. Maybe some of you have heard about this group. We are now about 15,000 members, translators and interpreters. So that's so far about me. Let's get on with my webinar. I will just let's see if I can share my screen. This should be it. Yes, looks fine. So just a second. Thriving instead of surviving. The reason why I have chosen this quite provoking title is that quite a few colleagues are not aware that they are merely surviving instead of thriving, and this for years and years. And I thought about what are the reasons behind. Is it something personal, or is it something they have some kind of maybe they missed some information? And I thought about looking closer at this topic. So let's have a look at, well, let's see. This should not be, here we are. So today in this webinar, we will have a look at some key questions. I have 3 key questions in this webinar. Some of these questions are obvious and the answers are also obvious, but we will have a look and we will have some more perspectives. So the first key question is, what are the characteristics of a freelancer? What is typical for a freelancer? And of course, also provoking is freelancing automatically. It is always, or is it always, a matter of survival? A matter of survival in terms of what I earn during a month. I will, at the end of the month, there's not much left. And the third one, referring to the second question, if yes, if it's a matter of survival, is this survival mode, as I've chosen as a common term, is this survival mode a law of nature, or maybe can it be changed somehow? And let's have a closer look at the first question. The characteristics of a freelancer, as I told you, some of these are obvious to us. For example, as opposed to employees, it's a self-employed person, and this person offers services. This person often works for multiple clients, or at least that would be the ideal state. It would not be a good idea if you're a freelancer and you only have 1 or 2 or 3 clients. In some countries, by the way, it would be a legal problem if you are a freelancer and only have one client. For example, I know that in Germany it's a problem. And also characteristics of freelancer, this person is not officially employed by another company. We as freelancers, we are not a part of the client's workforce, no matter what they say. Maybe they want to convince us or work with us, and maybe they expect us to be there 24/7, at least at regular hours and so on, as if we were a part of their staff, but we are not. So that's important to keep in mind. Freelancing is also, of course, depending on your own perception. You can be a business person, or you can call yourself an entrepreneur. Sometimes some people call themselves I am my own boss, for example, or in some contexts a solo entrepreneur. So there are different names, but roughly we speak about the same core situation. So if we look at the daily challenges for a freelancer, well, now we are getting into an area where those who are outsiders, those who are not freelancers, and especially those who are neither freelancer and nor in our business, they are not aware of these daily challenges. As we all know, we freelancers, we are in charge and we are responsible for everything, which means we need to be multi-talented in several areas. Either we are multi-talented in terms of doing it ourselves, or we can at least identify what needs to be done and get some help from somebody, from some experts doing this. This can, for example, be some graphic design, it can be some tax consultant, and so on. So just a rough list here about the many talents freelancer should really possess. For example, we need to be able to have a fairly good, or sometimes a perfect, time management. We need to know how much time do I need in advance? How much time do I need for this upcoming project in order to be able to accept more projects later on? Because if I just accept jobs from different clients, of course, I need to know roughly if it's possible to take care of job assignment number 1, and if it's closed, or if I have enough time for number 2, for number 3, and so on. Because it's very seldom that you have one job assignment, you finish it, and then you have the next job. Of course, it's very often overlapping. Freelancers, we need to have a certain degree of motivation, especially when we don't have, when the times are not so bright and not so positive. We need to keep up the motivation, and also probably asking ourselves, why did I turn a freelancer in the first case some years ago or some months ago? What was my motivation? What was my reason then? And just have a look back. Okay, that was my motivation, and I still have the same motivation. We need to show a certain degree of flexibility. Being flexible means not necessarily working at night and working every weekend, but we need to be flexible in order to juggle with different assignments. For example, it happens quite often to me when I have two major jobs. I work 3 days concentrated on one, and 2 days on the next one, and then I switch back, and in that way I can roughly keep the deadline for both assignments. Also, you need a certain degree of resilience, in terms of not giving up when times are bad. And self-discipline. Self-discipline is not only to get up in the morning instead of sleeping at until 10 o'clock. I know some colleagues, they sleep until 10 o'clock or until noon, and they are very active in the afternoon, and they have their best phase or stage of the day or at night. As a matter of fact, they prefer starting at 11 p.m. and they work until 3 or 4 a.m. because that is their personal biorhythm, and that works fine with them. So of course it's not possible to prescribe and tell everybody you have to start at 8 o'clock, I will have to start at this time of the day at the latest. Of course, this is also depending on your clients. If you have clients, some of my clients, they start work at 7 o'clock, also the color workers. So it means sometimes there is a mail with a timestamp at 7:15 when I start work at 8 o'clock. It is still okay, I can reply at 8 o'clock. But if they send a mail at 7:15 a.m. and I wouldn't show up until 2 p.m., maybe they have left office already. So that will be a bit too late. So of course, your self-discipline and your daily routines, they are quite depending on your clients and how your clients act. All right, and we also need to be able to handle the so-called feast and famine. This pair, feast and famine, I will mention that a couple of times in the during this webinar, because it's really a central term. Feast and famine is something that describes the ongoing situation for freelancers. Feast means you have a lot of work. Maybe you even have too much work, more work that you can handle, and it can be stressful. Of course, it's a luxury problem, of course, but it can be a feast situation, we say, because there's too much. And this opposed to the so-called famine situation. That's the other point of this scale. When there is very little work or maybe no work at all, and maybe you start to ask yourself, maybe it wasn't that good idea to go freelancing. Maybe I should go looking for an employment somewhere where I can work 9 to 5 and I have my steady income and so on. And in those situations, in the famine situations especially, have a look back at your motivation. And maybe when you started freelancing, maybe you made a little list with reasons for going freelancing. And if you look back at that list 1 year later, 2 years later, whenever business is going down or you are not really motivated, have a look at that list. What reasons did I write down back then when I decided to go freelancing? And I promise you, you'll get motivated quite quickly. So, of course, my rhetorical question, as previously mentioned, is freelancing only a matter of survival? Well, of course it's not, but we can have a closer look at the definition of this term survival or survive as given by the Merriam-Webster dictionary. According to this dictionary, and I agree, it is to survive is just to remain alive. To remain alive. And if we refer this to our freelancing situation, it means the amounts we earn in 1 month and the expenses we have and so on, it's just barely enough to survive for 1 month. It means in that situation, you need a steady income, of course, a steady flow of different jobs, of course, and these jobs, they must represent a certain value, because otherwise the next month there will be no more money at your accounts will be empty, or the account at on the 24th of that month. So that would be to survive, just to earn enough money so I can survive, so I can buy my lunch, and I can maybe fill up my car once every second month or something. And so that is to remain alive, just to remain on the right side. But it's, I mean, this cannot be something we are striving for. It also says here in this definition to continue to function, or to continue to prosper. Yeah. As I see this survival or survive, there is no progress. And if you have planned to stay as a freelancer, freelance translator or interpreter for many years ahead, not only for the next 2 years, and it's not an emergency solution for you, it is your choice, and you have decided to stay this way, of course, you should not stay in this survival mode for years and years and years, because that is very stressful, not only from the financial part, but also for your health and for your well-being. So of course the question remains, and the question is whether freelancing is an emergency solution in our lives, because there are no other options. You have to ask yourself this question. I chose freelancing, or did I choose freelancing just because there was nothing else? So this is just slightly better than a bad solution. It's just like I chose it because there was nothing better. Is freelancing something we will only stay for a limited period until we find something better? Also, again, freelancing as survival, in the survival mode will be to remain in existence. I remember what I told you about earning just enough to survive the month. Just imagine something happens. You will need to buy a new fridge, or you need to have your car repaired, or anything else, or maybe you will fall ill, and maybe you will not be able to work for 2 weeks, and of course in these 2 weeks you will have no income. So that is of course these are our questions we have to ask ourselves. And then of course at this point, it's not outspoken very often in our business, but it is important to know that and also to understand, and also to accept that freelancing is not for everyone. Because there are indeed excellent translators and excellent interpreters out there. They make a splendid job, a wonderful job, and they are very well educated, and they know how to research, and they are simply expert translators, but they are not successful as freelancers, because they don't regard or perceive themselves as business people. They are translators, and some of them, they say, well, I am just a translator. Well, listen, with quotation mark. I have heard this so often from some colleagues, from various colleagues. I am just a translator. I am just an interpreter. Well, listen, this just a translator. Imagine what would the world look like without translators? We as translators, we play a crucial role for the global economy. If we speak about import and export, we speak about translating literature, we speak about news, for example, translating news flash. There's news all over 24 hours a day all over the world, even if it's a lot of automated today with machine translation, still human translators out of flesh and blood, they will be they will still be required. Or imagine interpreters. What would the negotiations on the highest level between politicians, what would negotiations look like without interpreters and without the work of translators translating different treaties and so on? So please do not think or even mention to say, I am just a translator. Yeah, you are just a translator, of course, but we as translators, we play a crucial role in many areas of this world, of course. So let's get on. Is the survival mode, as I told you before, is that a law of nature? Something we cannot change? Or maybe can it be changed? Rhetorical, of course, again. We can change it, no worries. But we need to change, maybe we will need to change our self-perception. Our self-perception of our work, and we also need to be aware of a couple of things. Of course, this survival mode, it will be relevant. It will always be relevant at a certain point in your life. Of course, at the start of your freelance career, because it is indeed a natural process that you when you start with freelancing, you are still looking for clients, and you have not yet established your network. And of course, your savings, you have limited savings. Your savings are limited, which means your possibilities or your openings, let's say, they are restricted to thrive at this very stage. But it doesn't mean that you cannot thrive later on. But at the very beginning, it is a natural stage to be in the survival mode at the start of your freelance career. But however, if your plans are to stay within this profession, as I mentioned earlier, for several years, you should really think of ways how to leave this survival mode and move on to the thriving mode, to the next level. And again, this does not only refer to the financial aspects in terms of earning more or more interesting jobs, but it also refers to your personal well-being, because your personal well-being, very often, I mean, we have this buzzword, work-life balance, and so of course we are within that area now, because if we don't feel well, if we don't take care of ourselves, about our health, about our well-being in general, how should we be able to keep up the high level or just be able to work, to get up out of bed? We will be worn out when we are 50, or maybe there will be even worse consequences, like we can get ill, we can get depressions and so on. Of course, so that is not really a nice prospect to look at. And again, survival mode means, I mean, it's a natural stage to be in the survival mode, but don't stay there forever, because it means, as a matter of fact, the survival mode end of money is reached before the end of month has been reached, which means there is no more money on the 25th of that month. So you have a problem, of course, because you have no savings, and at the 25th you can't fill up your car. After the 25th, you can't buy any grocery, and so on. So make sure to have some savings. We will look into different ways to get out of this survival mode into the thriving mode. We will have a look at that in a second. So in order to know what we should, to know what measures we need to take, in order to know how or what we need which steps we need to take, we have to ask ourselves, of course, where are we now? Where are we standing? Because to be able to evolve, to evolve and take the leap from the survival to the thriving mode, we need to know where we are standing, and we need to know where we are heading. Because moving on from survival to thriving mode is very often a matter of changed self-perception. How do you perceive yourself? Do you perceive yourself as just a translator? Or do you perceive your work as something you only want to try out, or it's just like a hobby or something? Because if you perceive yourself as just a translator, my next question to you would be, do you perceive yourself, do you see yourself as a business person, or is business something that is you are not really not really keen on? Because no, it's not business, it's freelancing. But as a matter of fact, if we call ourselves business people or freelancers or entrepreneurs, all these tasks we have to take care of. And I don't speak about translation only. I speak about making quotations, issuing invoices, looking for and acquiring clients, doing marketing, building up a network. These are activities that are common for all kind of entrepreneurial activities. No matter if we call ourselves freelancers, business people, one's own boss, or whatever. So there are still lots of there are still many activities. So if you depending on your self-perception, maybe you should ask yourself if you are unhappy with your current situation. Maybe you prefer to blame other people for your current situation. Maybe you blame special circumstances, or maybe you blame even the constellation of the stars for your situation. And some of you, maybe, I hope not too many, I hope there will be none, but I know from some colleagues, they are, as we call it, member of a victim cult, which means they victimize themselves in order to say, for example, I am not successful because somebody else outside of my horizon did something to me, and I can't change it, so I am a victim of these circumstances. Well, listen, you are a freelancer, you're a business person, so it's up to you to change this. We are responsible to take care of this, no matter what the circumstances are. And if there is a huge problem or something that we can't solve on our own, of course we can ask experts. And if it's still not successful, we can always try out new roads. For example, translating within certain fields. I know some colleagues, they started with translating technical stuff, but they weren't very happy with that, and then they switched to cooking books or to children's literature, and they're very happy with that. But they took this decision to try out new possibilities. It wasn't because somebody told them to do this. We are freelancers. What is the reason why we are freelancers? Yes, because we are responsible. And also, again, speaking about this perception, we need to perceive ourselves as business people, because if we don't perceive ourselves as business people, how could we ever convince our clients that we are their business partners? So it means we need to meet our clients at eye level, and reaching this eye level means that we have to convince our clients we are their business partners. We are not a more or less part of their workforce doing what they ask us to do. Of course, we translate what they ask us to do, but we are their business partners. We are at the same level. We are not a part of their staff. which means we can choose to take upon a job or not. Of course, if it's a long-standing client, we would not turn down. But for example, it can mean a client comes and asks for a translation for tomorrow morning, and it's quite late already. I can say, okay, I will do this for you and this and this. However, I will not be able to deliver before noon and not in the morning. And because I have other clients as well, you are not my only client. And sometimes it's important to mention this to the clients, that we are not a part of their staff. We are business partners, and we're business partners on the same level. So again, it is not possible, or you should not blame other people for your mistakes, or if you are not successful. You can only blame yourself, and then try another way. And if you are successful, it was your efforts, not the efforts of somebody else. It was your efforts alone, because you are in charge of these changes. Only you are responsible that it will be done. And I think I mentioned that in some previous webinar. Being a freelancer does not mean that you will have to take care, that you have to carry out everything on your own. For example, there can be some tasks where you are not really, for example, taxes, tax consultant, and so on. So, but you are responsible that it will be done. It will be carried out either by yourself or by an expert. Of course, you pay this expert their due money. That's all right. But in the meantime, you can work, and you have you have enough time and a clear mind to do your work. And in the meantime, this expert, let it be a tax consultant or a graphic designer or a web designer, it doesn't matter. You pay them money, but you earn more money. In that time when they're working, you earn more money than what you paid them. So for me, this is a win-win situation, and the outcome is surely, if you have chosen a good expert, of course, and the outcome is surely better than if you would have tried on yourself. But again, sometimes some of us say, okay, I know enough about accounting from my previous professional life, so I can do this on my own. That's perfectly fine. But just consider this possibility to hire experts for certain tasks. But you, as a freelancer, you are responsible that it is done. You don't have to do it yourself. You can ask experts. So we had a look at the survival mode, and now let's have a look at the thriving mode, which is of course much nicer. Again, we have I picked out a definition from the Merriam-Webster dictionary, and I really do like the different variations they present here. To grow vigorously, to flourish, and that is exactly what we're speaking about. To grow as a person, to understand and to get another perception of your work and perception of the importance of being a translator or an interpreter. And then when you have understood, and when you have changed this perception, you will never ever say again, I am just a translator. And in this definition from Merriam-Webster, also for number 2, to gain in wealth. Yeah, that is, of course, that is taken. I mean, that's a no-brainer, that if we thrive, we will earn more money. That is of course that's a natural consequence, but it's not everything stuck in this thriving mode. So it's more this intangible, like you're growing as a person, staying healthy, leading a healthy life, and secondly, of course, earning more. And this about earning more, it's not only about more money on my account. Of course, there are other ways or other perspectives also to look at this. Let's have a look. Here we go. And now maybe some of you would ask, how is it even possible to take this leap or the next step from survival to thriving mode. Of course, the question is, what do I need to do to leave where I stand? Let's suppose you are in the you notice yourself you are in the survival mode, and you'd like to leave that behind and to move on to the thriving mode. Yeah, let me just give you a couple of different activities to help you to level up. And I will give you a short list here, and each point in this list we will have a closer look at each of them in a second. So as a freelancer, you can thrive by improving your productivity. More words per day. As a freelancer, you can also thrive if you learn how to market yourself, how to sell your services. You know where to go. If you're looking for inbound or outbound marketing, inbound means you offer something on your website and clients find that, or outbound means you take the initiative and you move on and contact prospects, potential clients. Also, it might be a good idea, just a recommendation, but it might be a good idea to create a separate space to work. It can be a separate room in your house, in your flat, or some people even rent an office downtown. Of course, we also have to look at the financial aspect. If you rent an office, you have to pay rent. That's for sure. And maybe you have a rental agreement for many years, so you have to pay this every single month for years and years, and that of course could sometimes be maybe a less wise idea. But you have to compare the pros and cons. Maybe you can rent an office, but you have you still have the door. You could still open the door and step out within 3 months, leaving your office behind and get back to your home office, for example. Always, and that's quite important, you always save something, and you can plan for taxes. Saving is a central part of these activities, because without savings we are not flexible. But we will have a look at that within a second. And the last one, which is in my point of view, it's quite important. You keep your self-care in mind, and it's not only about sports and doing healthy stuff, and so it's also about relaxing, about switching off work at, let's say, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then during the evening you are not working. You spend time with your family, or you're doing some hobbies or whatever. So it's not only about fitness and sports and so on. It's also some kind of screen detox. So you just or even work detox, because you get away from work. So otherwise you will carry this in the back of your head whole evening, and maybe even at night. Maybe some of you maybe even dream of work and dream of deadlines, and you have some nightmares. You will not be able to keep the deadlines and so on. And that is an example or proof that you have not switched off work, really. So you're even if you're not at the screen, you are still mentally at work. So if we look at improving our productivity, of course, there are many different ways. For example, we can offer other services, of course. But if we assume you stay in the same area and you stay in the same channel, offering the same kind of services you have always done, there are freelancers. They have two ways to earn more. Either you can raise your rates, you can charge more. Whether that is possible or not, it depends on the market situation. It depends on your clients, of course. So that's of course only a recommendation. if it's possible or not, that is up to you, and you will have to find out yourself, of course. If you are looking for new clients and you find new clients, why don't you give them a rate that is a little bit above the rate you have for your standing clients already? And the new clients, then you can figure out whether the new clients are, if they would agree and if they would accept a slightly higher rates, because the new clients, they have no idea what you charge, of course, for the older clients. They normally they should not have any. Furthermore, I spoke about two ways, and the second way for a freelancer to improve productivity and to earn more, of course, is to get more work done. It means to translate more, let's say, translate more words per hour, to put it simple. And of course, the question is, how can I do this? Yeah, of course you can. If many of us, we use CAT tools. And of course, we know how the CAT tools work, but sometimes we have to solve problems. We have to look for solutions, and it's just like time and time and time running, and we are not translating. So by learning the basic features in a software, of course, and by learning especially those features I need, and maybe you even make a little list because once you have done it, you know it. But if you need to solve this problem 5 weeks again, you can't remember. So you make a little list, you make a little manual or whatever, where to find it. Or maybe you can even buy a handbook. For example, I work with STL Studio, and I bought a very good handbook, a PDF file. I invested money in this, and I know I will find everything there. So whenever I need to know something, and there is a kind of setting I need to change, or something doesn't work, I just check up, and within 1 or 2 minutes, I have found the solution, I have applied the solution, and I can carry on with my translation. So that is how to get more work done, instead of wasting time trying to solve problems. Of course, there will be problems, but you can minimize this time to solve the problems. So, furthermore, how to improve your productivity? If we now look into this, charge more, or to translate more per day or per hour, no matter what time unit we use. If you charge for your services by the project and not by the hour, you can indeed reach a higher income if you produce the same quality, of course, the same quality, in less time. And that is what we call improved productivity. And let me give you some productivity advice that freelancers can apply to get more done. For example, you can find your niche. You can find certain fields where you are the experts. You are perceived as the expert. You are considered as experts by your clients, because you are an expert in energy. You are an expert in certain areas of medtech. You are an expert in certain fields within automation, and so on. So they will always go to you because you are the expert. And it is easier to become highly experienced and skilled within one field than to cover too many different fields, because if you cover too many different fields, you can't go deeper down. It's only on the very, very surface. So as long as it's possible, it has to be possible within your language pairs. It really pays off to be an expert instead of being a generalist. But of course, it all depends on the context, as always. I need to add an important reservation also at this point, because if you work within a small language pair would, for example, be somebody working from, let's say, Finnish into Dutch. That is a quite small language pair. There are colleagues working in this, and they have work. But if you work in a small language pair, of course, there is a limited market and a very small demand for translations. The only solution could be to become a generalist, to not take upon all fields, but quite a few fields, many more than if you work within a major language pair, and you can pick out your niches. Of course, working in a major language pair also means there's a huge or much bigger market, and of course the competition is immense, of course. So, but that's always depending on your personal situation. So sometimes there is no other option than being or at least trying to be a generalist, at least in certain fields. You can be a generalist for technical stuff, for example. I wouldn't say generalist doing technical, doing cooking books and doing children's literature and doing restaurant menus. That would be too much, and I don't think that would be very convincing or trustworthy. So also in this way, looking at improving your productivities, my advice is to take care of unpleasant tasks first during the day. And this is what we also call to eat the frog. We take care of the most complicated and the most difficult tasks first during the day, because this is a way how you can beat procrastination. And if you apply this, you can start your day by identifying first the most challenging tasks ahead, and then it will give you a chance to quit the bad habit of putting off daunting work. You decide, okay, I will do this unpleasant task first. That is my first task during the day, and then it's gone. And in the end, you will notice that the whole workload during the day will be much easier to manage. From my experience, I have also noticed that it might be a good idea to process your work in batches, to concentrate and focus on one task after another. For example, even if we freelancers, we need to deal with many different tasks. That is true. So, but it still doesn't mean that we have to do everything in one moment, everything at once. We can just cut them up in different batches depending on different tasks, because it will make us much more efficient, of course, and we will raise our productivity. Practically, it can, for example, mean that you set aside certain hours of the day for only one type of tasks, and for example, dedicate the mornings for a certain kind of translations, creative translations. Take some hours afternoon for issuing your invoices, and maybe in the afternoon you can use some hours for doing marketing or looking for prospective clients, just to name some examples. I mean, it's all up to you how you manage your day, and it's very often, as I mentioned before, it's very often based on your personal biorhythm. Because for me, for example, I know I am very productive in the morning between 9 o'clock and noon, and I feel quite annoyed when somebody calls me during these 2 or 3 hours, because I know I'm very productive in that time. These 3 hours in the morning, if I compare them, if I would do the same work in the afternoon, I would need 5 or 6 hours for the same amount of work. So I know for myself, from my biorhythm, that I am quite productive for work. I don't have creative ones, I have technical translations, but I'm very productive during these 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning until noon. And I prefer to concentrate on my work in these very hours. So also keep an eye on your time, because for us freelancers, time is money. as we all know, there are only 24 hours a day. So spend your time wisely, and you have to improve your time management. For example, this can be that you decide for your own tailor-made solutions for simply archiving your files. You don't have to search forever. You can simply find your old translations. You can find your translations memory. So you have a system, either based from date, or maybe based alphabetical from different clients, or maybe chronological from year to year to year, or whatever. It's your system, but use a smart system to find these files easily and quickly, because again, that is productivity. You can't waste minutes and minutes, and these minutes will be hours in the course of the week, just with searching stuff, because you know it's somewhere there. But if you have a good archive, and of course that's very personal. I have my system, and some of you use your system, and some maybe have no system at all. It is very, very recommended. Also, if you'd like, you can use special software to handle your projects and to issue invoices, because there is so I know from some colleagues there is a hurdle for them to write invoices because it's complicated and takes time. So they wait and wait and wait, and then after 4 weeks after delivery, they issue their invoices, and then they start waiting for payment. Oh no, not with me. Issue your invoice either the same day, or maybe the next day, or at least very, very short after you have delivered. As long as you don't have an agreement with your client that monthly invoicing and so on. But it should be easy to issue invoices. And again, speaking about the time management, learn how to use your CAT tool, the most important features. Of course, you don't have to know everything in your CAT tools, because there are features you will never know about, you will never use them, but learn and memorize the features you will need for your work in order to get more productive, of course. And so you will have to figure out how to invest your time wisely, and to optimize your productivity, because time is really an invaluable resource. So market yourself and your services, because we as translators, we don't only, of course, we don't only work with our translation assignments, we also need to take care of admin tasks and communicate with clients, and maybe even find time to market our services and to acquire new clients. And of course, there is no approach that would fit to everybody's specific situation. Again, it depends on the context. But let me give you some general ways how to get more clients, how to expand your business, and how you can increase your turnover, and increasing turnover hopefully increase your profit. For example, take advantage of social media. For example, you can have a closer look at LinkedIn, where you can find clients to approach, and clients who maybe require translations. You can simply ask. They can only say no, or they say yes. We are looking for a translator within this and this and this field, and you seem to be a good fit. Also, you can set up a complete and convincing profile, either on a platform with many other translators. That you can have a free profile page there. Sometimes on some platforms you can pay for this, so you get some extra features, of course. You can, for example, LinkedIn is for free. Yeah, so you can just set up your profile and make sure to make it convincing, and you are not speaking about yourself. You have to approach your clients that they to convince them, of course. So it's not so about I and me. It's more like you will get these advantages if you hire me, and you can expect this and this support from me, and so on. So it's more like from the perspective from the client side, which would I think it's more convincing. You can also maybe, if you'd like, if it's possible, you can add some translation samples, and you can also on LinkedIn, for example, you can interact with potential clients. I mean, there are many debates, and these debates are not necessarily within the translation world. If you are specialized, for example, in automation, you'll find some clients, manufacturers within automation, and if you can start with looking and not and only reading, not really taking part, but after you can jump into the cold water and join these debates and tell them, yes, I am not I do not represent a manufacturer of automation, but I can offer you this and this and this, because as a matter of fact, you can just notice, as a matter of fact, I see you are exporting your machines and so to different countries, and I, by the way, am a translator, and I'm specialized within automation. So you establish this connection. All right. Also, set aside for marketing, and that is something I quite often notice that colleagues, they take time for marketing when it's too late. They take time for marketing when they have no more work. Far too late. This is an ongoing task. You should take time for this task and commit yourself to build a network. No matter if you have lots of work or very little work, because if you start doing this when you have very little work, it means, these job assignments, these translation jobs, they will not arrive the next day. Sometimes it will take 4 months or 6 months or 1 year until this client finally sees or finally requires translation for you. From you. So you need to. This is an ongoing task to do your marketing. Even if you have lots of work, remember, there will be periods in your freelance career when there is less work, and then you have prepared yourself by acquiring, or because you acquire clients before. And also, you might have clients, but there are always clients who pay better. So if you have lots of work, or you have enough work, let's say that, and you acquire some new clients, and you notice, oh, these are very these people, they are nice, and they are they accept my higher rates, and they are active within a very interesting field. I would like to translate for them, and maybe you can skip those clients you have worked for a long time, but those clients who only offer very, very low rates, and maybe you accepted these low rates because that was the emergency solution. So having enough work does not mean that you cannot take up on new clients. Of course you can take up on new clients, but then you skip those who do not pay very high rates at the end. And here also creating inbound leads. Inbound leads means that you present yourself on your website, your personal website, for example, or a profile page for showcasing your work and your skills, which means the clients, they will, or potential clients, they will find this, and this will hopefully lead new clients into your network. You can always, if you'd like, you can implement strategies for ranking on search engines. Those of you who attended at the last webinar when we spoke about Twitter, everything you drop on Twitter, all the tweets and everything you post on Twitter, this is indexed by Google, which means you will just rocket sky on Google if you are very active on Twitter, because everything you drop on Twitter, it is visible to everybody, not only to your network, but to the complete world. And also it is searchable on Google. So it will bring lots of organic traffic to your site, just as a little hint. So we had this point about the workspace. A dedicated workspace can, for example, be a spare room in your house, a spare room in your flat, or maybe at least simply a calm corner of your living room where you can really work without being disturbed, without any distraction. Of course, a separate room where you can physically close the door. Either you close the door because you go to work, or you close the door because you leave work, but at least you have this physical border closing the door behind you, and then you leave work. It's also something which is something that is important for your mental state, because then you have left work. Yeah, and of course, if you rent office downtown, that's even better. But again, you have to see if it's affordable or not, and it depends. Is there any office space? And so it's just like an option. So by having a dedicated workspace, it is also easier to get down to business where you need to work, and this dedicated workspace, it is not for private purposes. It is really not for private purposes. It's only this corner in your living room. It's a place where you work and nothing else. You only work there, which means doing something private. Of course, you can do something private there, but I would recommend, okay, if you do something private at the computer, maybe you'll need to have a second computer, or at least you shouldn't spend too much time in a private context in your professional workspace. So that is the dedicated workspace. And also, if we speak about the physical division between work at home, as I already mentioned, it will make it easier for you to change into your personal relaxation zone when you are at home, or when you leave that room in your flat, and you say, okay, now I finish work for today. So you leave work, you enter your relaxation zone, and because you have finished work. And also, at least in some countries, I am not really sure about the tax legislation in all countries, because of course they are different. But depending on the tax legislation in your country, maybe you want to look into the applicable regulations in order to make your separate working space tax deductible. For example, there can be some pitfalls. For example, in Germany, I know your office space is not allowed to have a bed, and is not allowed to have a studio couch, or there is no, or the authorities, they would decide there is no business purpose, because the bed, it could be used as a guest room, etc., etc. So you will have to check up with a local tax legislation whether you can deduct where it's tax deductible or not. If you set up your own working space, let it be a room or rented office, or just a corner of your living room, or corner of your bedroom, wherever. Also important at this point, don't make any unnecessary investments, because your savings are limited. So at the beginning, at the start, you'll be fine with a desk, with a computer, of course, a reliable internet connection. You need some software, some CAD tools, whatever, an office chair, and sufficient lighting, and that's it. Later on, you can invest later on when you can afford it. You can do some more investments, of course. So, and now I would like to exactly. About savings, and that is the very, very core, if you ask me, because saving is extremely important. not only for freelancers, for everybody, I would say a well-balanced budget is an essential solution to financial health. And especially for freelancers, when you have an irregular income, this is even more important. So let me just give you some tips how you as freelancers can budget in order to keep your cash flow positive, because that is an issue we have to fight or have to deal with quite often. And here are also some tips if you'd like to save for the future. For example, if you put savings aside, savings, they will give you a certain protection against any unexpected situation that might happen in a freelancer's life, or even in a private life. For example, it might be necessary to buy a new fridge, or your car needs to be repaired, and so on. So in a perfect world, it will be at least enough to cover a full month of all your expenses, of all your outgoings. It will give you some breathing room if your workload goes down. So you still have enough savings for one month of no income, no work at all. For example, this can be you get a short-term illness, you're not able to work, or you maybe just need to take a decent break because it was you had so much work in in the last couple of weeks or couple of months, and you just notice you want to recharge your batteries. So logically, if you have a bigger reserve than only 1 month, this will buy you more time. So you can simply choose a reserve that you feel comfortable with. But again, this is personal, depending on your personal situation, of course. So savings will also help you to keep up your cash flow, and cash flow is a constant issue because we cannot be sure that our clients will pay the invoices on time, and sometimes some of the clients, they even go bankrupt. This happens. So we all know that some agency clients mostly, they ignore the due date for payment, and often I hear the explanation that they are not able to pay because their client has not paid yet. Of course, we will get very annoyed and so on, and it's like, well, pay us, but still it is not sure that our client will pay then. Maybe they will still pay. We have to wait for 2 weeks until they pay, and still our problem with the cash flow is not solved within these 2 weeks. Maybe after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, when there is possibly a payment from our client. But what shall we do in the meantime? So we need a quick solution. If our client comes up and says we cannot pay because our client has not paid yet, blah blah, and if we have some savings, we can bypass this waiting period and keep up our cash flows, because we still have our expenses, we have our regular outgoings. Also, by saving, if you save money, it means you have you are less desperate. Let me explain what I mean with this. With some savings on the bank account, or in any way, some savings, if you have the savings, you have a chance to be a little picky when it comes to the kind of projects you choose and the kind of projects you'd like to avoid, because then you have the flexibility to turn down certain projects with low rates, hoping there will be something better soon coming up at the horizon. Of course, this is partly a little gambling, because nobody can tell us what will come tomorrow or come next week, but at least if we have some savings, we are still flexible and we are less desperate for taking any work. Because if you take, I mean, this is Murphy's Law in a nutshell. If we take a job assignment for out of desperation, and it's quite low rates, but say, okay, little money is better than no money at all. Okay, I can agree with this. But Murphy's Law says 1 hour after you, 1 hour later after you have taken upon this assignment for low rates, there is another client asking for a translation with a decent rate, but you're not able to take upon that job because there is no time for that. So you are stuck in the first job with a lower peanut rates. Yeah. So of course that would be quite unfortunate. And from my experience, it is not. It happens now and then. It happens now and then to some colleagues. So by having savings, you can be a bit more picky. So my advice would also be to have separate bank accounts. If you put some savings on separate accounts, you have one business account and you have one private account. Because if you have a special bank account for all your freelance income and expenses, your business account, you can pay from that to your private account. You can pay it like kind of salary by transferring money from that business to your private account. So let's see. And also now again, this is of course depending on where you are based, in what countries we are, and what is the current legislation we have to adhere to. But from my experience, many new freelancers, they tend to forget to set aside enough money to cover taxes. Because all of a sudden, it depends on when you have to pay the taxes. In some countries, you have to pay the taxes in January. In some countries, it's in October, and so on. And sometimes it's divided 4 times a year, whatever. But we have to put money aside in order to cover these taxes. Otherwise, it will be quite a surprise, and not a nice surprise. So, because if you compare your freelancing with being an employee, as an employee, you didn't have to take care of anything, and because the taxes they were drawn directly from your paycheck. But as a freelancer, you are in charge. Remember, so you need to be prepared for tax deadlines. Put money aside for these taxes. It can also be a good idea, again, to hire a tax consultant who will support you and lead you through this jungle. And the question whether you need a tax consultant or not, of course, that's an interesting question. Maybe you are maybe you are even interested privately within the tax legislation, and you know everything, and you know what you need to know, so you can do this all on your own. But for some of us, we are not into finance, and we are taxes, and so no, I would prefer asking an expert. Also, depending on the current legislation, of course, in a country, because in some countries there is there are straightforward legislations, and in some countries it's really complicated and exhausting. And even imagine, if you do this on your own, you are exhausted and you are tedious. You have invested time, and time. Yeah, what is time? Time is your resource. Time is your resource for translating or interpreting and earning money. Yeah, but still, of course, you can do these tax matters on your own, but make sure to do it properly, and avoiding that surprise 3 months later, and they tell you, well, you handed in some forms and everything, but you have to pay more taxes than you calculated. That would be not such a nice situation. So, as a conclusion for the saving parts, I have just put in here, very, very important for everybody, that savings serve multiple purposes. because you get a financial cushion. It helps you with the cash flow. You get less desperate. And if you save on separate accounts, you are able to transfer some money regularly, hopefully, from your business to your private account, just to split up. So you know, this is the on my private account, I have this money, and I can afford taking a vacation. I can afford buying some new clothes. I can afford buying a new bike or whatever. So you know what your savings are and what you can, what is at your disposal. And finally, also savings for taxes, because everybody wants taxes. All the taxes. I mean, yeah. There are tax legislations in all countries, of course. So, and now let's have a look at the last one here, speaking about the, about the self-care, about you as a person, and about your work life balance, because it's not only about money and about financial matters, because if you have a constant pressure on your shoulders to earn more money and make ends meet, and because there will always be a risk that you overbook yourself, you take upon more job that you could handle, or maybe you are able to handle it, but you sleep only 4 hours every night, and this for weeks or even months, which is of course not healthy. And that is the stage when you really sacrifice your self-care, which is of course in the long run, it is really detrimental to your business, not only to your health but also to your business, because you as a person, you are your business, and at the very end, this could lead to a burnout, which is of course nothing we should strive for. So in order to stay on top and stay productive, we also need to take care of ourselves, and this is an essential cornerstone if you have planned to stay in this business for quite some years, and if you want to lead a healthy and happy life. Because healthy and happy life doesn't mean to satisfy all clients at any time with all kind of tasks at any day of the year, even Christmas Eve or early on a Sunday morning. At any rate, it also means that we as professionals also have to think about ourselves, in order, because if we think about ourselves, we can recharge our batteries, we are able to stay on top. So as a consequence, if we do not take care of ourselves, we will just gradually getting down and down, and as I told you, burn out at the horizon. So I have only a couple of items here which are quite obvious, but I'd like to mention these. Get enough sleep. Eat balanced meals. That's your nutrition part. Stay hydrated, and moderate your consumption of caffeine and alcohol. That's a really important advice. Also, make sure to take frequent breaks during the day, because again, if we compare freelancing with being an employee, being an employee, we know, okay, now I can take a break after 2 hours, and I am an employee, and this is in my employment contract agreement, that I have 3 breaks a day, and each my first break is 15 minutes, the second break is the lunch break for longer, and so on. Of course, we as freelancers, we are responsible for this, and we have to figure out how to take breaks, because working hours and hours, and also sitting at a desk, that's really I mean for many hours, that is not a really healthy activity. So, and also when you take breaks, it is a good idea to get outside and walk around, and maybe you can stretch or meditate. And very important, don't take your lunch at the desk. in front of your screen. So get away from your screen for having lunch, even if it's only for 5 minutes or 7 minutes, something quickly heated up in the microwave, but don't have your lunch at the desk. And during the day, you can you have some certain routines, and these routines can, for example, be like fixed hours. As I told you, fixed hours for starting work and ending work. I mean, workload permitted. If there is lots of work, maybe you have to work a little longer. But if you have fixed routines and you can, you know that there are no clients sending off mails at 7 o'clock in the morning, awaiting an answer within an hour. You can start work at 10 o'clock. It's all up to you in accordance with your biorhythm. Because we are all individuals, and it's some people, they are night owls, and some are very early sparrows, and they are early birds, and they are very active in the morning, maybe even before 8 o'clock, maybe at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock, or maybe depending on your family situation. Kids going to school at 7 o'clock, the house will be empty, and then you can start working for 4 hours, 5 hours, and this is all up to you. And also make sure to unplug when you are not working, which means inform your clients that what hours of the day you are available or what hours you are not available, to respond to emails or answering the phone, and because there is no reason to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Of course, we are, as I told you, we are not a part of their staff, of their workforce. We are not employed at an emergency service, whatever. We have our normal working hours. Of course, it doesn't necessarily mean that we work only 8 hours a day, it can be 10 hours a day, but it also means sometimes that we take a Friday off, Friday and Monday, making a long weekend, for example. So, and that is all up to you, but we have to decide this. We are responsible for this. No client would come and suggest, oh, you can take off tomorrow, you can take your day off tomorrow. It is all, it's all our decision, and we have to communicate clearly with our client. And also, finally, this is also, I think, quite obvious, but let me just mention it. How you when you have your free time, how you spend it. You can spend your free time with your family, with your loved ones, or with a hobby, and being in nature, or maybe if you have pets, if you have a dog. Those who have dogs, they know what I'm speaking about. This is an important part to leave work behind, and not only physically but also mentally behind. So I think we are coming towards the end. Just a second. So yeah, here we go. The key takeaways from this webinar. I see it's already 5:30 here in German time zone. So let's finish this here. The key takeaways. First of all, we have to prepare for these feast and famine periods. And for example, preparing means, for example, doing marketing. Even if we have lots of work, we still take some time looking for new clients, looking for new and maybe better clients, because again, we can, even if we have enough work, we can still look for better clients, because there will always be better clients. We will never reach the highest stage where we can claim there are no better clients than those that I have. So there are always better clients. So that is a way to prepare for feast and famine. Preparing also means putting some savings aside. Because later in your career, when you have left this survival mode, and later in your career, you will move steadily on from survival to thriving mode. You will have more. You will gain more flexibility and more elbow room by having savings. For example, getting picky. You don't have to take every single job, even if it's very low, if it's a low rate, you can just ignore it or say, okay, I would have had, I have time for this, but I do not want to take it because it's a too low rate, and normally I charge double of this. You know? Also, in the thriving mode, the more elbow room, as I told you, giving you more flexibility by having savings and by preparing and so one activity leads to the other one and so on. So it's all connected to each other. And finally, also important for your well-being, to reduce your stress level. I know some colleagues, maybe it's something about a certain age or whatever. I know some colleagues, they work, they have normal working hours during the day, but also work at night, during the night. Of course, it is possible, but you cannot do that for a very long time, because if you miss these sleeping hours, you need to sleep well, sleep enough. I know some of us only need 6 hours, 7 hours, maybe less. Some of us need 10 hours of really efficient sleep. So it's of course very, very personal. But if you work for a whole day, maybe you take 1 hour break in the evening, and then you just start all over again during burning the midnight oil for many, many hours, and you start losing your sleeping hours. You can do that for a quite limited time. I do not do that any longer, because if I do that, it will be to satisfy a client that when they come to work at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, it's there because I delivered during the night. But for me personally, the next day I will walk around like a zombie, and I would not be very, very productive. So it's really a lost case for me. I would prefer working into the evening, ending at, maybe finish work at 6 or 7 p.m. And then I take, okay, I will finish work now, and next morning maybe starting one hour earlier in order to finish all these tasks. So, and I think that's about it in this short little webinar about thriving and surviving. So thank you very much for your attention, and I hope there will be some questions, or maybe some comments in the upcoming Q&A session. So let me hand over the microphone to you, Aurora.
Thank you very much, Erik. We are not that many, so I really encourage you to just raise your hands, and Erik will immediately see you, and just make your questions. Or type them, of course, if you don't want to speak, but I think it's better to make it more dynamic and just to make oral questions.
Here we go.
While we wait,
I see there are 10 messages in the chat.
Okay. While we wait for some questions, Erik, I have a couple of comments to make.
Yes, please.
From my own experience, something that really added to my productivity was having a second monitor. A lot. It helped me a lot, really. I have the translation on one monitor and the resources I have on the other one. My IT guru convinced me. At first I said, well, and I really now would love to have 3 monitors, but in my case, it was not the size, but having 2. And the other one is having voice recognition. So there is like a wide array of technical resources. From my experience, the double monitor, a wireless mouse, all things around my computer seen as investment. And some colleagues say that voice recognition helped them a lot, just as my contribution to
yes, I know there are different. I fully agree with you that each of us, we have to find out the optimized setup. For example, by using only one huge monitor. I mean, there are these wide ones, 1 meter wide, or several smaller ones. It all depends on our working habits, maybe. And I mean, it goes on to using certain kind of ergonomic keyboards or ergonomic mice and so on. So there are many different tricks, or even applying shortcuts instead of searching around with a mouse. For me personally, it can happen that I don't use the mouse for half an hour because I know exactly where I'm heading with my shortcuts. And of course, using shortcuts instead of going around with the mouse and trying to catch a certain menu with a mouse arrow, whatever, which would take ages. By using shortcuts, I save a lot of time, really a lot of time. And it's also, I think it's even better also from an ergonomical aspect, because I use both hands for these shortcuts, and using a mouse would of course only be with one hand, and I would also have to look where am I heading. I have to strain my eyes in order to be sure, okay, I have now picked the right menu, the right sub menu, and then after 12 seconds I have found that spot. So compared to a shortcut which maybe takes half a second. So in the course of the day, if you just count all these, if you add all these different measures and all these seconds, and so we are not speaking about minutes, we're speaking about hours.
Yes, absolutely. Another tip, this is based on what Erika wrote on the chat box. She talked about joining other colleagues, and I had a very good experience with having a partner, informal of course, but we saw this as an opportunity to reach different possibilities, or to have different doors and windows. And for example, she became a member of one association, so and then we shared the cost of having a website. She went to a fair, I went to another one, so it was good because in general, not my case, but sometimes even we, the ones that have good esteem, might have a very bad day. But it was good because we had our own feedback, and it helped to be together and to face and to experience non-replies from those colleagues who we try to contact. And like I say, but mainly sharing cost and also adding ideas, because she had good ideas on one side and I had other good ideas. So these informal partners to me are key.
That is true, and I have to say that building up a network is really crucial, because many of my best clients, let them be agencies or end clients, these are recommendations from other colleagues who serve other languages, and they were not able to offer German Swedish. They had translated German English and German French and whatever, and all of a sudden this client, let's say it was a manufacturer within automation, he had a Swedish client, a company in Sweden had bought machines from this German manufacturer. So of course the German manufacturer, they required Swedish translations, and their first go, even if they know our translator for German into French, of course they do not do Swedish, but the client thought, okay, maybe they know somebody because they are networked, and that's how it all started. So many of my best clients, they really stem from recommendations. So having a network, and not only speaking about acquiring work, but also, as you said, Aurora, helping each other and learning from each other, and having different or giving new perspectives, and say, okay, this is your solution, this is my solution, and let me tell you about mine, and then it's all up to us if we want to apply this new knowledge, or maybe we can take parts of it and just to optimize, because in the very end each one of us should really try to optimize our workflow, and it's not so easy, or I would say it's impossible to give general advice to say this is what you have to do to optimize your workflow, because it is very individual. but by giving some different perspectives, or giving suggestions like, well, my solution is this. So without expecting or prescribing that the other part should just apply this, but this is how I solve this, and if you'd like, I can tell you more about it. If you'd like to also apply this in the same way, or in a similar way, I can help you further on. So I think it's important to be open for other suggestions, instead of saying, well, this is the way I've done it all my life, or for 10 years now, and there is no need to change this because this is the best one. I think that is not a good approach. I think it's important to be open, and to take, and of course also sharing, because both directions, to share your experiences, but also to take and to listen to other views and to other experiences.
Exactly. In a globalized world, we should be profiting from globalization. I always say that we at YAPTI, me as the president of YAPTI and a very active translator, do not think that those agencies that pay low rates are the enemies. They are not. They have their own interest in. Had I been born an agency, TransPerfect, I probably would be looking for ways to exploit and get higher margins. Of course, I'm not. I'm a translator. So I'm on this side of the profession. It doesn't mean that mine is better than the other one, but this is where I am. And in the globalized world, same as we are attending conferences from the American Translators Association, the ITI, all the conferences, great conferences, our clients are also doing it. So we need to set very high standards so that clients know, even if the Badischen, Chimica Hesh, Banco Italiano, the Labor, or whatever, all the fields we work for, that, for example, we can choose to work on a weekend, but that will cost you.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We need to be in contact with other colleagues because they will share with us these standards that maybe when we are starting, we are so desperate to work that we say, okay, yes. So it's fine to say, yes, I accept, but listen. And even if we don't charge, we say, I should have charged this. But I mean, just for the client to know, same as working for free. This I learned from my partner. Sometimes she chose not to charge anything, but she did send an invoice. I should have charged $3,000. You got a 100% bonus. This was for an NGO, and she decided not to charge. But she sent an invoice saying, this is what it costs. This is what my professional fees are. Yeah. And you learn by being in contact with other people. It's not that we know this by default. We learn from others.
Of course. Nobody. We cannot expect that everybody knows everything. So we learn from each other. I think Ellen wanted to add something. I have to unmute microphone. Oh, yeah.
Yes. I was wondering. I've been doing this for way over 30 years. And I work exclusively for agencies. This is my choice. And I work I'm specialized in a field that really does not go to individual translators. I'm working on clinical studies mainly. So a contract research organization does not want to hire 25 individual translators to have one study translated into every one of those languages. So I'm kind of stuck with agencies because, I'm also not good with direct clients who do not know their way around translation. I'm way too impatient. So is there anything you can say that is more geared to working with agencies? Because generally, every translator who gives a presentation on anything is like, go get direct clients. I don't wanna. I really don't.
Yes and no. Sometimes it's a bit tricky, because if I take from my perspective, for example, German Swedish, which it's sometimes regarded as a minor language pair. What I often notice is that in case I have all of a sudden a German end client, because they have delivered a machine to Sweden, and according to EU regulations, the delivery is only complete when the translated handbooks have arrived, or when I have translated the handbooks and they have been delivered to the same place where the machine already has arrived 3 months before. So But the issue is that I'm very happy for these kind of clients. But the problem is that it is it's a one-time wonder, because this Swedish client, they will not order another machine for 10 million euros next month. Maybe they will never order again from this German manufacturer. And this German manufacturer, they will, in the meantime, they will export to France, to Spain, to Italy, and to Greece and whatever, but not to Sweden. So I can only hope that one day they will have another Swedish client to export to, and also hope that this German manufacturer in 3 years, 5 years time will get back to me. So in order to deal with this, I would really need, if I would say I do not work with agencies, but currently it's like 80% agency, 20%, 50% end clients. If I would decide no more agencies, only end clients, I would need a huge number of end clients just in order to stay on top, to have work all the time, because it is sometimes a minor pair. It's different if you work within English, Spanish, or German, French. These are major pairs. I would say everything with English, or English and the English together with EU languages, somehow they are, I would say, major. But if you take away the English part and you take like Swedish, German, or Finnish, Dutch, or whatever, these are smaller ones. And then you have to look into ways. So into your personal solutions. So I think it's not really fair if somebody says, somebody claims you have to do this, and you have to gain end clients and this and that. So, well, first of all, how do I get end clients? And I need a certain number of end clients, and there is no standardized end client. I am lucky to have, for example, 3 of my end clients. They are very, very easygoing, because there is a lady in the documentation center or department, and they are translators. So they know everything, and if I have an issue with the text from the technical writers in their company, I just get back to this contact person, to this translator, and she is employed there, she works there, and I just tell her, like, listen, I notice some inconsistency, and of course she is on our side, and she will clarify that within the company, that now we have to make a style guide, or maybe they have a style guide but they neglected it. Yeah, but it's very difficult to give some general advice and to tell everybody, skip the agencies, go to end clients. Okay, it is of course from the financial aspect, you earn more money with the end clients, but you have more work. So I mean, then you have to compare. If you need to invest more energy, and the question is, of course, if it is an end client and you have lots of work with them, much more work with them than with a comparable with an agency, then maybe it's not enough to have a 20% higher rates. Maybe you should have 100% higher rates compared to the rates you have for agencies. So because there are agencies this way, and there are many different kind of agencies, and of course the same applies to end clients. I hope that answers your question, or maybe it didn't. Okay.
Any other question or comment?
I think Samuel has the hand raised.
Yes.
Just unmute yourself, please.
Here we are. Okay, there is a camera missing, but I see a hand raised. Okay. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. We've learned a lot of it, and thanks for sharing all these good experiences.
You're welcome.
I have a small question. My question, I would like, for example, to specialize in airline industry, translation in aviation. How can I get some clients in that specific field, for example?
First of all, you will have to present yourself as a specialist for aviation. If you already have experience within this area, you can present yourself as an expert within this specific field, because that would, for example, on a LinkedIn profile, just to you can also give some examples of your previous work if it's possible, and if your previous clients, if they agree with this, and then you will notice what kind of clients finding you, if there are agencies finding you, if there are end clients finding you. On LinkedIn also you can start looking for end clients, of course, who are active within this field. Agencies not, because agencies do not present, or very seldom the agencies present their clients. I know there are some agencies, when they have a website and they present the different end clients they have, in my opinion, it is not good, but it's not a wise idea, but that is their decision. But in general, agencies do not emphasize a certain field, and the reason for that is quite simple, because they don't want to scare off other end clients in other fields. Because imagine if there is an agency, and this agency says, we are specialists in aviation, which means they only make this statement, but mentally it means it is conceived, or it is, sorry, it's perceived as we do aviation but nothing else, which would scare off some end clients within other areas, of course. So if you go on LinkedIn, you put some information about this specialization on your profile, and you could also, and hopefully this would convince some potential clients, let it be agencies or let it be end clients. And in addition to that, you can also look for manufacturers, for end clients within this field. You can look for them, for example, on LinkedIn or in different directories. One idea is maybe to look into Chamber of Commerce, because the Chamber of Commerce, they have their member, or many of them, they have their member lists. It's all available on the web, if they have a decent website and so, and yeah. And also there are Chamber of Commerces for the region within a city, but or within a country sometimes. But there are also, and that is quite interesting, in Europe at least, there are export Chamber of Commerce. For example, there is a Chamber of Commerce for any commercial activity between Germany and Sweden, where I am a member, and I am one of the few translators as a member in that chamber. Yeah, so and that is the way to get a foot in the door, and and I'm a member there. But of course, you don't have to be a member to find potential clients, but that would be the next step, because it's an investment. Membership is not for free, of course, but that would also be a way how to find potential clients.
Thank you very much for your answer to this question.
You're welcome.
The small next question will be, how can I become a member of IRPT?
Samuel, I will send you the information privately later, okay? Just the link with all the requirements. Right. Thank you for your interest.
Thank you. You're most welcome.
Erik, I would like to add something. Even though we keep listening to these suggestions, some are really like going to fairs, etc. For example, I decided to join an association to find publishers, which are now the most interesting target client for me. And so I joined the Society of Writers and Illustrators in the United States. There are 3 translators only from English into Spanish per unbelievable. So even if we know this, we've been hearing this. In the American Chamber of Commerce in Argentina, there is 1 translator. I am not interested in that because I'm moving more from business into literature. But how come? And we know that, and everybody says, join the chambers, do it. So that's a good niche, I would say, a good opportunity, just locally or internationally even.
Yes, also, well, I don't know how it looks like in other countries, but in Germany, for example, there is this compulsory membership in Chamber of Commerce if you have a company like I have. Freelancers are not obliged, or not. There is no compulsory membership for freelancers or for a single proprietorship, or for the smallest one. But for a certain size of companies and a certain legal form of companies, in Germany at least, there is a compulsory membership. So if they force me to be a member, I can do the best out of this, and that is the local German Chamber of Commerce. And they also offer lots of interesting seminars and webinars, and also, of course, I can have a look into their membership list. I'm not sure if non-members can do that, but at least I know what other regional companies here are members in that very Chamber of Commerce. And if I combine this with the other Chamber of Commerce, with the German-Swedish one, for example, with the export, you can imagine I will find quite a few potential clients. And of course, you cannot assume that if you write to 20 companies, 10 will just jump out of their chair and ask for your translations. I would say maybe if it's a good feedback, you will get about 4% getting back to you, and from these 4%, maybe half would start asking about translation, and maybe the half of that, then we are 1 of 100. They will order a translation from you. But still, if it's a major translation and you compare this with the time you have invested, it really pays off. And you can never know, really, marketing is something that you can never really, it is hard to evaluate, because sometimes there are some potential clients, they get back within 2 weeks, and there are some that they get back within 2 years. And there are some that get back within 5 years. Yeah, or sometimes there is a company who contacts you and you have never ever heard their name, and it's and in the end you get the story that one of the companies you wrote to 5 years ago, they closed or they merged with somebody, and somebody gave your business card to somebody, and this business card went another route to somebody, and they need translations. So this is it's very, very complicated, and very, well, it's more or less impossible to say this is the way I have to do it, because this is the only way that can be successful. I would say in general, you have to be patient. Which means it's an ongoing task. It's not something you can do when you all of a sudden notice, I have little work, maybe I should start looking for clients. That is too late. Yep. Erika?
I have a good old-fashioned advice. Talk to people about what you do. Talk to people, because you never know where clients are coming from. I found clients in the locker room at the pool, for instance. I swear. So talk to people. Tell them about what you do, what you like to do, what your job, what your interests. Talk to people. That's it.
It's very important, and I fully agree with you, because you can never know what their profession is. Maybe they don't need your services, but they know somebody who spoke about that with them. So you never know how the constellation and how this road goes on for this chain. So, oh, I know somebody who knows somebody, and so on. And yeah, and sometimes I get I have the same situation as about recommendation from colleagues, that some of my clients, they ask me, well, we know you don't do Danish, but do you know somebody who makes Danish? Okay, I know somebody there. So and then I recommend that colleague, and she was very happy, and she recommended me to another colleague, to another client later on. So it's a win-win situation. And again, we have to take into account that it can happen quickly. There can be quick results, but often we need to have some patience, and we have to be we have to prepare for anything that could happen along the road, which means on and on, looking for clients, not necessarily taking 3 days a week doing only this, but take some hours every day. And then we will notice what works or not. For example, in some countries, you are not allowed to send cold emails, marketing emails, because then you can be sued.
Wow.
And so in that situation, it might be better to take the old-fashioned way, make a snail mail paper printout, put 1 or 2 or 3 business cards inside, and drop it, and make sure that it's forwarded directly to the CEO, not that it comes only to the first hurdle, to somebody, to the secretary or somewhere, and it just like in the paper bin, but it has to reach, of course, the proper person. Can be an export manager, or maybe the procurement department, and so on. So at least it reaches the person in question. Of course, we cannot know if they say what their decision will be, and they will say no, we already have somebody. Sometimes they come back to me and they say, okay, thank you very much for your offer, but as a matter of fact, it is true we export to Sweden, but as a matter of fact, we already work with somebody and we are happy with them. And I say, okay, that is perfectly fine with me. There is no reason for you to change this. If you're happy with them, I'm happy for you, and have a good day. Yeah, that's it. Then we have to be fair. Yeah?
I think Luke wants to say something.
Luke, okay.
Unmute
Yes.
yourself, please.
Thank you very much, Aurora, and thank you so much, Erik, for the presentation. Very interesting presentation. Thank you so much. So I have 2 concerns. The first has to do with copyrights and royalties, maybe, and what percentage translators would have out of amounts that publishing houses make after receiving our translations that help them, to enrich themselves. In fact, I had a question when Aurora mentioned her work with the publishing house, and I thought, well, maybe I should ask this question because some months ago, I got to do some work for such an institution. And when charging, I kept asking myself what I should mention as, a fee for the work that I was going to do. So what advice do you have, especially for young freelancers who probably would also be getting such opportunities? That is for, publishing houses. How much should we charge? Should we charge based on the number of pages, or based on the fact that they will be publishing such, text almost every year and making money out of our translations? I know there are copyright laws sometimes regarding what translators should charge. Some would say, your entitlement to whatever ends once the work is delivered. But what do you have to say? What advice would you give to young translators? That is the first thing I have. The other thing has to do with charges in foreign currencies. For instance, in Ghana, we charge in USD. But we have a peculiar situation this year. The value of the Ghana cedi has depreciated, so much to the extent that when a translator charges, the average amount, which is probably in our context about 30 USD for 300 words, locally, the companies think that it is just too much, because a few months ago, for 30 United States dollars, one would get about 150 Ghana cedis. Now, today, the same amount, 30 USD, it would give you a figure close to 400 Ghana cedis. And I think, well, that actually affects the ability of translators, locally to charge still in the United States dollar. So what advice do you also have in that regard, especially for translators working in countries where they charge in currencies, other than their own currencies? What would you say to freelancers, especially young freelancers? Thank you.
One question, Luke, is the first question specific for me regarding publishers? And
yeah, I mean, it's for you, it's for Erik and any other person who would want to contribute.
Okay, regarding fees and royalties, I have a couple of contracts. Of course, I cannot share them, but I see that they usually have like a grid. Same as those translators who accept discounts for repetitions, I don't. To me, my CAD tools are my own. I never offer discounts. But in the same way as there are those grids, there are grids for all the royalties a translator should get. For example, audiobooks, if the book is translated. So I can share that with you, those grids, because I have seen that they are the same by the different publishers, if that replies your question. Regarding the second one, aim at international rates. I work in Argentina, where the second worst inflation in the world. And we've had, I've been writing about this for 20 years, profiting from internalization, from globalization. For Argentine client, I charge what the Sworn Translators Association or other associations indicate. But for the international market, I charge international rates. That's I don't know how you see this, Erik.
Yeah, I would, I am inclined to agree with you, because if you have international clients, there are no reasons not to charge international rates. It is too often that I hear arguments or like alleged reasons that offering lower rates because the translator, him or herself, is situated in a certain country, but it is the same kind of service. It would be like comparing English translations made in the translation into English, made in the UK, in Jamaica, or in Ghana. Of course, in a perfect world, it should be the same rate because it is the same kind of service. It is not inferior just because it is not from the United Kingdom, and there are of course no reasons to accept a lower rate depending on where a certain translator is based, because there are often I hear these. It's like, well, in your country, you can afford more, or for example, Thailand is much cheaper to live. You have less expenses. So, well, listen, that's another story. It's about my services. You don't know what I want to do with my money. Maybe I live in Thailand and I work there and I want to earn enough money because in 5 years' time I'd like to move back to Europe, for example. It's none of their business. It's because it is my freelancing and these are my services, and I can never really, it really triggers me when I hear such arguments that low rates because you are in this and this country.
In 2001, there was this really like a turning point in my life. There was a huge project, and it had been assigned to 20 translators in Spain. And all of a sudden, they found out that in Argentina, the exchange rate had come from $1 peso to 1.3. So they came here, and all the Argentinians were happy for two reasons. First of all, because we were having a very bad time. It was a huge financial crisis. All of a sudden, we were assigned that. We were. In the end, I remember I invited all the colleagues to join. We had a meeting. That was the beginning of many things, even probably from Yapti, saying, don't accept. And I remember attending the American Translators Association and people looking at me and say, oh, you're an Argentinian, so you are the ones who dump, like Erika was saying, the market. Whatever we do affects the whole market. That's why we have this African Flame initiative where we present so that our African colleagues, even if they never move, they are born in Ghana and they die in Ghana, just be the ones who profit from globalization. You know, Noam Chomsky is our honorary member. When I invited him, he really praised our association, and he said it would be great if other guilds did the same. When you have an American Express, we are not sponsored by American Express, resorting, instead of the Ohio boy who used to have a good job, going to India. So that is the use of globalization. That guild, okay, they should be in charge of that. Our guild, our profession should be totally different and not accepting that. If you are in a country that has this situation like mine, which is totally crazy country, or even a country that never changes, be the one who profits from globalization and from international markets at international rates.
Exactly. I think Patricia had a question.
Hi everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, well, it has nothing to do with getting customers or rates. I just wanted to share a discovery I made recently, and it's regarding your health, because maybe sometimes translators neglect their health. Erik mentioned that we should eat good things, but we also need to take care about ergonomy, because we spend so many hours sitting or standing at our desks. And I had to overwork for some time for personal reasons. I couldn't work at other times. Well, a long story. The thing is that suddenly I had a big problem with my legs. The circulation of my blood was not going okay. So, well, okay, I got the treatment and everything. And the doctor said, you should contact someone about, I cannot help you with that, but there are consultants or people who can help you to see if you are working in correct conditions. So, well, I was looking for someone when I went into a shop, a professional shop, not to IKEA or because I was also looking for a new armchair. So I talked to the guy, and he said, oh, I have done a lot of training in ergonomy, and what is your problem? And I said, well, I have had this problem. And he told me something that I think is good for everybody, and maybe we don't think of it. He said, what is your first reaction? You have a chair and you have a desk. So you put your chair next to your desk, you sit down, and you adjust the height of your chair so that it is okay. It is comfortable for you to put your arms on the desk and on your keyboard, and I mean we adjust the height of the armchair. He said, but the desk doesn't move when you do that. I don't know if I am explaining myself. When you adjust your chair, maybe your legs are not at the right position and you don't realize. I mean, you do like this, so I do like this, and I am higher. I am okay for this desk. But by doing this, my feet are not at the right position. And my problem came from that. Well, apart from the fact that I had been many hours. To make it short, the height of the desk should be adjustable if we really want to be working in good ergonomic conditions, unless you have a standard size which corresponds to the measure of the desk. I mean, desks are thought for people who are, let's say, 1.75 to 1.85. Wow. I am 1.60. So I am under that. Which means that after testing, after testing with this guy, in fact, my desk should be 10 centimeters lower than it is.
I think it is. I mean, a desk that you can adjust in height. I think that is quite important if it's still doable. I mean, I can do that with my as well, but it is quite a lot of work if I want to do it, because I have to. It is not a
It's just
mechanical
a
feature.
button.
Yeah,
You have just
no,
a
I don't
button.
have any mechanical feature where I can just, because I have
Okay.
to. It's just like setting it once and then that's it, because there are like huge bolts and
Yeah,
screws
yeah,
and
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But maybe you should try out a standing desk.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he mentioned, standing desk. And I said, I don't want to work standing up. And he said, no, but they allow it. He had one in his showroom. You just push a button. Well, I have already ordered mine. You just push a button and you adjust it exactly to the height you want. So he said the thing we should do is the opposite of what we do. When we get to a desk, we adjust our chair. No, adjust sit comfortably on your chair with your feet on the floor, well positioned, that your body is well positioned, and then adjust the height of your desk. I don't know.
And the next level.
It makes the whole difference.
I can imagine.
I couldn't have believed it.
Yeah, I can imagine. And the next level, when you have the standing desk, and the next level will be to have a thread mill, so you can walk. You don't only stand. Yeah, you don't only stand. You just walk. But I haven't tried out, and I'm not sure if it would work for me. I don't know. If it will work to stand up and work.
I have tried, and I cannot walk on the treadmill and concentrate on my translation.
Exactly. I see Erika. She adds also that a good madras is a very wise idea. I saw in the chat here. Okay, good.
Okay, seems to be all for now, right?
Yeah, I guess so too. It's 6:15 here, local time.
I love paying me attention, please. The cat is talking to Romina.
Okay. Cat is there.
Okay, I would like
for the cat
to add something.
Cat wants dinner.
Time for dinner. Yes.
Okay, just one more minute, please. Ask your cat. Remember talking about the time we devote. And there is a saying by McLuhan, one of the fathers of marketing. I have marketing studies, and he said that half of the money that is invested, publishers say investment and not spent on marketing, is lost. The thing is that we don't know which 50%. And I would say that the same applies to time. Whenever you attend a conference and you say, what will I get? What will be the takeaway? Okay, you need to do it. You cannot know. There is not cause and effect relationship. But so half of the time that you invest on trying to get new clients or better agencies or whatever, just working on your brand awareness will give you a good result. You only don't know which one, but you have to do it. Same with money.
Yeah, you have to do it.
Investing time. Yeah.
Exactly, have to do it. And I'm not really sure about the quote and who said it, but it was something like, those who claim that expenses for marketing are just useless, it is similar like if you would like to stop the time by smashing a watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's something we have to do, but of course, as you say, this 50% we don't know, and we only have to figure out the best method, how to get clients, and before that, maybe we have to ask ourselves, what kind of clients am I looking for? What would be my ideal client? And then, in the meantime, maybe there are some clients showing up. We are not so happy with them, but they are okay, and we can still keep up and keep on going, because, as I said, you can always look for new clients, even if you have 100% work. You can still look for new clients, because you can simply replace old clients, the peanut clients, the peanut agencies. You can replace them and just putting so your average turnover and average profit, of course, will slowly rise.
Excellent advice. Yeah. Thank you very much, Erik. We are now looking forward to the 4th webinar. That will be on December the 28th, almost there.
Yeah, I hope there will be some people around, so short after Christmas, but I'm sure there will be somebody there, and
Thank you very much. It's always an honor and a pleasure to learn from you. And thank you to all the colleagues who decided to spend this time with us.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
The cat is talking. Bye.